delegates at the ANC's 8th Ekurhuleni Conference have finally managed to adopt credentials after hours of quarreling. Yesterday, Gauteng Chair David Makhura slammed delegates for the delay, saying the region is fragmented and their convention resembles a war zone. Members of the party who support Doctor Xhakaza for chairperson position allege that they've been singled out by not being allowed to register, barring them from entering the venue. Xhakaza is up against Mzwandile Masina, who's seeking a second term. Let's make sense of the latest developments for you now. Bring in political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi, who joins us via our video link from Bloemfontein this morning. Prof, always great to have your time and your insight. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us again. You know, it was David Makhura yesterday who essentially ripped through the organization in Ekurhuleni in his opening address, saying, as I've already mentioned there, that the convention itself is resembling a war zone. But I can't help but think that we've been here before, haven't we?
Hi, good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to South Africans. Yes, once again, but one has to be very cautious how you look at this. One way one can say perhaps it is a vibrant democracy taking place, but if you look at another angle, with another eye, this is definitely where representational institutions like political parties are threatened. Democracy is being threatened here because you can't have a situation where each time for a glorious organization like the African National Congress, whenever they have to hold a conference, an elective conference at any level, then you have this kind of manifestations of what they will say it is normal contestation within the party. But definitely it is a huge concern, not only for the African National Congress, but for ordinary South Africans, that this is the way the ruling party has to conduct itself.
Yeah, I mean, they will always come out in their defense to say that this is democracy at work. It's robust debate, which shows just how vibrant the levels of democracy within the ANC are. But quite frankly, these are actually organizational dysfunctionalities. They have a direct impact on getting on with the business of the day. For one, this conference in 4 ways, but it's an Ekurhuleni conference, is going to have to take on or take place over much more days than it would originally, and there are implications for that.
No, well, any organization where it's sold, and I hope today's conversation would not have been about the African National Congress, but I often tell people, as a ruling party, the spotlight will be on the ANC forever. And it's not like we've got personal vendettas against the party. You can't have a situation like that. There should be rules and procedures how to conduct elections. And my question also, from branch level, regional level, can't all these issues about, credentials being sorted out, and why wait up until you reach a provincial elective conference and only then have to deal with these kind of things? That tells you that it is definitely a chaotic situation when it comes to the administration, day-to-day administration within the African National Congress. And sometimes what some leaders want us not to do is to tell them what is wrong. And when they speak, like David Makhura yesterday, everybody has to listen. We know that the problem within the African National Congress is all about a fight back from the so-called RET forces, but also from not necessarily only them. There are also gatekeepers who are causing a lot of problems. People want forever to remain in certain positions. And at the end of the day, the question is, how long will the organization take, the social fabric of this organization? How long will it last in order to ensure that the ANC come victorious during the next edition of the election in South Africa?
And, every time we're confronted with these scenes or these moments, we also reflect on the question of the impact this is potentially going to have on the country as a whole. I mean, as you already mentioned, the ANC as the governing party has real, impact, or how it conducts its affairs has a real impact on South Africa's able to get on with the business of the day. I wonder whether you feel that, we're coming any closer to being able to quantify that impact.
It is said. I often say I've got great respect for President Cyril Ramaphosa. Most commentators predicted that this is the challenges that he's going to face, And I'm going to say it, and very bluntly, we should actually be grateful. And I know some people will have different opinions about that, because I've heard some, murmurs in that direction, that how can I even start to say that? For me, it could have been worse if we had to go along the same trajectory to what we have been exposed during the Jacob Zuma era. And the forces are out there, and they want to take over the African National Congress. But we don't have control as South Africans over that, because every single member within the African National Congress has the right to contest within the party. But fact of the matter is, what is happening in the African National Congress affect the days and lives of every single South African. If you look in terms of service delivery, what is happening at provincial level and at national level is definitely also happening at your local municipal level. We've seen, in Bloemfontein, 6 months after the elections, it's quite a dysfunctional municipality. We can't even start to call it a metropolitan municipality. Service delivery is non-existent. What we see is the infighting and all that. So these things have a rippling effect. It becomes a vicious cycle of who to support during the next 5 years. But the focus is not on how can we enhance. Strategies are there. We've got the most, excellent policy proposals and even existing policies in South Africa. But the problem is we need champions. We need advocates who can take this forward. And unfortunately, they themselves within the ANC are strangled by these infighting internal dynamics within the party. And it does affect South Africans' flow. If you look at the status of the current economy, if you look at service delivery, but something which is also very sad, if you've got a party member who wakes up in the morning and say, I am going to disrupt violently my own party meeting. That tells you something, that to the extent that people can go to try and advance their own interest.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of what's at stake, doesn't it? We also, I guess, in some respects, reflecting on what's still ahead, these big calendar events for the ANC for 2022. One of call it the one that's coming up closest is that July policy conference. And I wonder how optimistic you are that that conference will be much calmer, cordial than the regional conferences we've seen in the past few months.
No, it can't be calmer. There will definitely be contentious issues. One of them will be the issue of the land. One of them will also be, almost like some of them, because remember, the president also has to provide feedback as to what extent has he implemented some of the policy recommendations from the previous elective conference. And there will definitely be a strong fight back to say he failed completely in that regard from other forces. So I do foresee a situation there will definitely be contestation around some of these major issues, but it can't be. In fact, for me, tension will become much more heightened within the African National Congress, building up to the elective conference in December. But if you look at the history of the African National Congress, in most instances, policy conferences will, to a certain extent, will be successfully completed, and there will be a statement that we have actually disappointed our critics, and here we've successfully completed our conference. But fact of the matter is, yes, robust debates are part of any democratic institution, any democratic practice. But fact of the matter is, when people have to lose their life in the name of democracy, in the name of robust debate, then I'm a sociologist, then I would fail to try and even answer that question, whether that is a killing. Violence is also part of democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. Scary how predictable things have almost become. Professor Sethulego Matebesi, thanks very much indeed for always helping us break down these, at times, complex issues. Really do appreciate your time. Professor Matebesi is a political analyst.